Steve. That brings us to the question and answer period. And I think Stan is going to kick it off with the first question.
I'd like, is that on? Okay. All the way up. Yes. I'd like to remind everybody that this is a forum that is addressing business and economic issues, and those specifically. The first question. What project opportunities or initiatives do you think hold the greatest promise of helping to implement the goals of the county's economic vitality strategic plan? And please explain why.
Mark, you're going to lead off this question.
I haven't quite figured out the pattern. I think it's pretty random, keep trying there.
We're working together.
We're working together already for you. All right. There are 4 goals in the economic plan. Most of you know what those are. One is to support the laboratory as the main employer. One is to really improve the quality of life. The third is going to be to increase affordable housing. And then the other is to diversify the economy. Those are the 4 major goals. So what projects would we have to try to maybe touch on those? Most of the projects that we do in Los Alamos today, a lot of them really relay around the quality of life goal. For example, trying to work on improving the infrastructure and then building an arena, or I'm sorry, building an entertainment center at the pond would be an example of a quality of life initiative that could also actually help our economic vitality, right? We draw lots of people here for Gordon's concert series, for example. That's a real showcase of the town. A lot of people know the pond, and it's really a centerpiece. So if we put some money and some effort into that, that'll benefit a lot of residents today and maybe attracting people to come up here, which could help with some people at least get an idea coming up here. We do need to, there isn't a project necessarily that talks on goal number 1. We do need to be a partner with the laboratory as things go up and down a little bit. I mean, GRT is not going to go away as long as the state decides to keep having GRT, but what will happen is that that'll go up and down. So how do we manage and work with the laboratory closely to follow what they're doing as we manage as a council the amount of funds that we have available. So that'll affect future projects. We do need to work on, again, we just talked about a partnership. How are we going to make A19 and other land transfers really work for us to help for affordable housing? Not just buying houses, but also rental availability. People who are going to come up for our economic diversity aren't necessarily going to be able to buy a house when they're here the first time they move here. It may be a while before they can, but they have to live here. Also going to be spending $4 a gallon on gas to drive back and forth. So how are we going to make that work here? And as a county, that's something that I'll be dedicated to working on.
Thanks, Mark. Steve, you're up next.
So to answer this question, I just put down some projects that are already proposed that I think hit as many of the 4 vitality goals as Mark just told you. And one of them that's real close to my heart is the White Rock Civic activity, Civic Center, library, and then in partnership with that, the A19 development. That has a promise for commercial, for residential, for mixed housing, for tourist leverage, and for White Rock community amenities. So that's economic development, community quality of life, affordable housing, and then also all of these help the lab if we're making it easier or more attractive for people to come to stay, to be employed. The other thing that I think is a really great gaggle of projects pulled together that meet those objectives are we've got to have this Trinity site anchor retail. That's improved foodstuffs and general merchandise. That's going to keep more money on the hill. That's economic development. That's quality of life. And then the other thing that goes with the Smiths thing is this downtown creative district. I think that has lots of potential. I think people that are interested in that, volunteer to get on that committee that they're looking for to help pull that together. And then the other thing that's so key with that cultural district and that Smiths and that foodstuffs is it's about time we get this teen center thing done. We've been looking for that for a long time. So those three things together is what's going to make the downtown great.
Thanks, Steve. Kristen?
I'm glad that we already have this economic vitality plan in place, and I think they are important goals to move towards. And I actually think there are a lot of things that do help us to help the lab, and that was one of the platforms I'm running on. And the way I see that is if we have a vital and economic and lively and interesting town that meets our needs first, that helps the town, that helps the lab in its recruitment and retention, and helps it to be able to continue to be a world-class place when the town is an extra asset in whether or not somebody decides to move here. We are already a great place, but we do need to consider some of these other things that we can do to help it. I think in terms of economic diversity, I think one of the things we can absolutely do is try to work towards helping evolve UNMLA and helping it to draw on all the amazing people who are here, and to build a four-year program and to pick specific, UNMLA would be the ones to do this, but pick the fields in which they really want to be world-class and specialists here, and I think that's going to help our economic diversity. I also believe, as Steve said, I think having our teen center here, having the nature center, having all those things that help it to make a better town, they help economic diversity because they help people to see, hey, this is a great town to move to, and it helps to strengthen the lab. In terms of our available and affordable housing, there are so many things we could do. One of them, of course, is to help finance the infrastructure so it makes A19 or some of the other land that's coming to the county, that the county will then turn and sell to private developers. If we can help invest in the infrastructure, it's possible for them to have some affordable housing. But there's other creative things we can do. I have never lived in a town that has so many empty houses. And I think we could develop some kind of a program, and maybe in a public-private partnership, where we reach out to those families around the country who have inherited these homes, and maybe we invest a little bit and they commit to rent for a while. We have some affordable housing. I mean, there could be lots of creative things that we could do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Michael?
I think I'm going to single out affordable housing on this one, in many ways because I think it helps reach some of the other goals. By providing affordable housing, we're supporting the lab. Some of the younger postdocs, for example, often leave because they have difficulty finding affordable housing. For the economic vitality, a lot of retail businesses need employees that are willing to work at a lower wage, and in order to work at a lower wage, you have to be able to afford to live here, unless you're willing to commute from the valley, and that has added transportation costs, which really make it prohibitive in a lot of cases to have employees that are willing to work at those lower wages. So I think affordable housing is really important. And one of the things, when I think about affordable housing, I really am reticent to pursue the normal course of, let's give a discount to a developer if he includes affordable housing. Because when you do that, the affordable housing, it might be affordable for the first person who buys it, but then it raises up to the property values elsewhere. And what you're doing is you're giving a discount to someone to build more homes that end up competing against the rest of the homes. And we have, like Kristen said, a lot of vacant homes. So one of the methods that I would like to look at is the idea of a land trust. If the county has a lot of land, perhaps have a partnership with the land trust where the land stays with the trust, and a developer will build houses, apartments, affordable housing, which can then be bought, but the land beneath it is leased. So the raising property values stay with the land, and the next person who buys it ends up also having affordable housing as well.
Thank you, Michael. Pete?
I don't believe that any one project will magically create economic vitality here. We do have to make sure we get maximum value from all the capital improvement projects that have been started. Recreational amenities will attract tourists to stay here and spend money, and they'll make people feel better about buying a home here. But I place a higher priority on reinvigorating downtown Los Alamos and White Rock so that people will get a good first impression of our town and want to stick around, encouraging more local business development. The county does have land that it can leverage to help get better housing or commercial space available. But we will have to invest money to make that land attractive for development, as has been mentioned. I think better execution of lots of little things, getting our zoning and sign codes easier for business to work with. Supporting and promoting the exciting work going on right here at UNMLA, and promoting tourism more actively are just as important to achieving economic vitality as any big project. One suggestion that deserves examination is to develop the old Smith's store after they move into the Trinity site into a UNMLA engineering center. There really is a need here for more room for that exciting work. I think getting the Manhattan Project National Historic Park started here, getting the Valles Caldera under National Park Service management, and working together with Bandolier and the Valles Caldera to promote tourism here would also give a needed boost to local retail.
Thank you, Vince, you want to wrap this one up for us?
Throughout its history, Los Alamos County has had the persistent challenge of having available land for new housing and retail opportunities. We have an exciting opportunity with the land, the 60-acre A19 parcel in White Rock that's next to the firehouse. But in order for that to be developed, the county needs to have a plan. And I've asked the staff to bring a master plan to the council so we can approve it and begin to move forward and have some development on this site. There are many challenges with developing the A19 land. The county is in a unique position to make investments to put in road and utility infrastructure so that the land and parcels of it can be sold to private developers and new retail and housing options can be made available to the citizens of White Rock and the citizens of Los Alamos County. Affordable housing has a number of components. I think one of the most important components is rental units. The county, through its Affordable Housing Act, can offer a discount to developers to put in rental units so that young families can get started here. If we could attract between 50 or 100 young families to come in our community, individuals who normally would be commuting to work in Los Alamos County, if we can get them to come here and spend their dollars in our community, this is the best way to further economic development. And so I'm a very strong supporter of moving forward with the A19 land and the other lands that we have in the county. We have land that's adjacent to the Trinity site. We have the old Los Alamos Site Administration Office. There are many other parcels of land in the county which we haven't had, and we were able to acquire those parcels by working through federal legislation and working with the DOE so they would turn those lands over.